Yo, what's good, everyone? What's good? Another episode of Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. I am your host, Lionel McDonald. Um, as Hip Hop Appreciation Month continues in the month of August, not sure when I'll actually release this one to the public, but this episode is a little near and dear to my heart because of who the feature artist is. It is um, one Sean Duval Price. I didn't know his middle name until I just read it. But Sean Price, uh, boot camp Clik member, uh, half of the amazing duo, which is Helta Skelta, obviously 20% of the very fun and interesting group, the Fab Five, and obviously a third of the group that he started. Um, with Guilty Simpson and Black Milk called Random Acts. Black Milk, by the way, did a credible job in the producing of that album. It's so underrated at this point. It still has a moment in time. But Sean Price, was born March 17th, actually on St. Patrick's Day, 1972, and he grew up in New York, predominantly in Brooklyn, and he grew to be one of the, I wouldn't say faces, but in this culture called hip hop, when we talk about the underground scene of New York City, and we talk about Brooklyn per se, Sean Price is a legend. And what's amazing about Sean Price is, call it, is just his journey. He unfortunately is no longer with us, and the reason that this episode is being done is earlier this month marks the 6th year anniversary where Sean Price passed away. We still don't know why he passed away. Some people say he just died in his sleep. Maybe he had sleep apnea where he just stopped breathing and never regained consciousness. But Sean Price, the legend, and he has some of the coolest nicknames we've ever heard. Ruck, Ruckus is where it comes from. Sean Price is his name, but Sean P, as we love to call him, Kimbo Price, Mike Tyson, Jesus Price Superstar, Sean the Barbarian, et cetera, et cetera. So, and one of my favorites that I picked up through many of his lyrics, particularly when he went solo, and I doing a little research to do this episode, is Decepticon Sean. So not knowing what he references Decepticons a lot. And what I learned is Sean actually was part of a gang. A gang that kind of really was prevalent in the mid 80s and the early 90s in New York City. It covered of a bunch of different areas, but predominantly Brooklyn, with the Bed-Stuy or Flatbush. Those were some of the main areas. But there were some artists that were definitely part of this gang. Including members of Onyx, Sticky Fingers, and Fredro Starr, and then I believe even General Steel from Smith and Wesson was also part of the game, but Sean Price was part of this gang, and the gang per se did not, got into a lot of different things. They were, call it poor kids that were in New York City trying to deal with a tough situation. Unfortunately, they got involved in robbing people and preying on the physically weak, but Sean ultimately got into some trouble. Was arrested for um, led to a whole bunch of different things with his career, and ultimately he decided to got connected with members of this upcoming hip hop group called the Boot Camp. Clik is what they were called, but Black Moon, and obviously the leader of Black Moon is Buckshot Shorty, and with them and the Beat Miners, he connected with them, He made his debut um, on a track on the debut album of Smith and Wesson called "The Shining," and that really kind of sprungboard his career. And I think when we think about the Boot Camp Clik, for those that don't know, so Boot Camp is the Beat Miners, which does a bunch of their production. It is Original Gun Clappers, otherwise known as OGC. Smith and Wesson, and yeah, they had a name change at one point, but went ultimately going back to Smith and Wesson. Um, and then Helter Skelter, which was Ruck and Rock, ultimately made that duo, and then we had Black Moon. So they they were a formidable group, a hardcore group like Wu Tang or um, Gangstar or even a Mob Deep. I think those where you draw some of the comparisons. Obviously, MOP would be in that category too. And it's funny in later life how they those some of those artists end up connecting on additional projects. But after jumping on The Shining, Ruck and Rock came out with their own album. First album was Nocturnal, and it was pretty dope. It was a dope album. It had a couple couple bangers. I think many hardcore New York cats are still playing Operational Lockdown, which it just has this eerie feel to it, but the way the two of them flow and their chemistry is dope. But they didn't come out a couple years later. They came out with the album Magnum Force, and that just didn't hit. In between all of that, Le Flo, Le Fla, Eshkoshka, and that was a smash, one of the biggest boot camp songs that we've ever heard. But after just the single buzz, the group didn't do much together as a group, and we go back to Helter Skelter. Magnum Force, in many people's eyes, just didn't live up to expectations. Some people even called it a flop. And I think it ultimately came to the fact that Rock wanted to do his own thing, and um, that left Sean Price, which he then changed from, one of his many aliases, went back to his government name, and he says, "Well, I'm not done with rap. I think I can go out and do some things, and I am just going to call myself Sean Price and rap my ass off." So debut album solo wise came out in '95, Monkey Bars, and let me tell you, when like I think we all thought Sean Price was cool, and some of the boot camp projects, or obviously, I really liked him as part of Helter Skelter, but I did not fully comprehend his lyrical prowess. Like it would be like a an imposing force, like absolutely intimidating you with how amazing of an MC he is. And I think of some of the songs, Monkey Bars, Barbarian, but Boombayé is like the joint on this album. Um, and all of a sudden, Sean Price is now getting buzz in '95. I still remember because it came out as call it a 3-pack. There was Smith and Wesson came out with their album, and then obviously Buckshot actually had his own album that he started to do, call it a three tip project with Ninth Wonder. I think we had the formula and the chemistry, and then I think there's one more I'm just not remembering at this point. But Monkey Bars, same artwork. It's like him fighting a gorilla on it. Totally dope. So fast forward 2 years later, Sean Price has got some buzz, has the respect of the streets, comes out with Jesus Price Superstar. So we think about Cardiac, and we think about Peabody, and we think about The One. Church is a dope song. So Sean Price is making it happen. He is now being recognized as a dope MC on his own and not needing to be part of a group. The Mess You Made is still a song many people say it's more on a little bit on the softer side for all the things that Sean Price has done. but it's dope. But I think probably my favorite project that he ever came out with. And unfortunately, this is like, getting close to when he passed away. And it's 3 years before he passed in 2015, but 2012, I still remember. I just had moved back from Toronto, from being in Vancouver, but this album hit me like a ton of bricks, which was Mike Tyson. And it's funny that I say hit you like a ton of bricks. It's like Mike Tyson, the boxer, actually hit me, and hit you lyrically, sonically. It's probably his best project, although the other two projects are amazing. And I think if you think of Barbecue Sauce, Pyrex, Frankenberry, and then and again, Shut the Fuck Up is a crazy song. So a totally dope album. This is now three. Like, he's cemented himself as a dope ass lyricist. And yeah, I think he has commanded respect and commanded a lot of things. He jumped into, again, as I mentioned, Random Acts, highly underrated album. If you've never listened to it, with him and Guilty Simpson, and obviously I mentioned Black Milk on the Boards. You should definitely check it out. But things happened, and at the very young age of 43, Sean Price went to sleep and did not wake up. Tremendous loss to the hip hop community, and we've talked about it before. Pun, Big L, Guru, Fife, Dilla, Tupac, Biggie, Eazy-E. Like, the list is, just crazy. MF Doom. Like, we could go on all day about who's gone. Nate Dogg. Like, again, I'll stop there. But yeah, a tremendous amount of loss, the hip hop. And this one really hit me because I remember I was actually at I think it was my brother-in-law's my brother-in-law's birthday party, and his birthday is in early August. And we were just talking. It's like, did you hear that Sean Price passed? And I was going, what? Sean Price? Sean P passed? I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. It was only a few short years earlier that we were at his birthday, and we were talking about Mike Tyson coming out. It was the first summer I'd been back in Toronto with Catherine, and yeah, we were talking about how dope Mike Tyson was and how crazy of an MC Sean Price was. So unfortunately, yes, a lot of mourning from the hip hop community. But then we got, like, we see some artists that there's just music in the chambers. So we got Songs in the Key of Price, an album after his passing. It was pretty good. It was all right. I guess I was still real. I don't know if I really even taken. I may have to go back and listen to it. But the album that did get me, and I really hats off to his wife Bernadette, which is actually taken on. She's been on stage. She's actually, spit his verses in many shows where he would have had to appear as part of a song. So, shout out Bernadette and the three kids. But it's just amazing how she's carrying his legacy to the fullest. But Imperious Rex was a dope album. There's obviously connection with him and Fame from MOP. There was that album. But I think going back to Imperious Rex, three lyrical P's, and it's crazy that three guys that has P in their name, and two of them passed in Sean Price, and obviously Prodigy or is in the song. Our boy P, who represented from the Locks last week on Versus, definitely is the third member of that song. But pretty dope record, Imperious Rex is. And again, he sacrificed or lived on by his wife Bernadette, who's holding them down, and then the kids, obviously. But I guess if I wrap up, I definitely do miss Sean. I miss some of these guys. Probably like, I would tell you there's a lot of guys that are gone, but Sean Price and Prodigy are literally almost bring tears to my eyes. They're at the top of the food chain of MCs that I truly miss because I just don't think they're done. Like Big L, and he would be, probably in that top five. They just didn't get the chance to finish everything that they could have done on this world when they talk about the game and lyricism, but also life and their family. But I'll take you back to a time that I was so fortunate. It's at Elma Combo, early spring of 2013, and Sean Price was there performing on his own. He's touring my album Mike Tyson, and everything you would think. I've seen him before. I saw him with um Helter Skelter, Smith and Wesson, and Buckshot. So I saw them as five MCs. But to see Sean Price on his own go back and do Monkey Bars and Jesus Christ Superstar, but really focus on um on Mike Tyson was absolutely incredible and amazing. And it is a time. And Elma Combo, if you've never been there, again, obviously we're still in a pandemic. I got a table here that is maybe 3 feet high. That's how high the stage is. It's a very small club. You literally, I was literally, if I could have touched Sean Price, but if I know that if I touched it, he probably would have knocked me out. So it was amazing to see how close he was, and to see him spit, and his energy and how raw he is, and he just doesn't give a fuck, and he just does his thing. So salute to Sean Price. You always will be one of my favorites. And I wish you were still here, but unfortunately Sean P is not. And but his legacy will live on forever, forever. So thanks for listening to me talk about Sean Price, one of my favorite MCs. Until the next episode of Sneaks Rhymes of Life, bye for now.